She only opened the letter because the envelope smelled like smoke. Not burnt paper, not fire, but something older, like ash and pine, like a fireplace that had been cold for years. It was buried inside a box in the attic, hidden beneath a stack of books her father told her never to touch. Her fingers were dusty when she found it. Her chest was tight before she read a single word, because the handwriting on the front didn't say, "To my daughter." It said, "To the girl who thinks she is." From the moment she could speak, she called him Dad. He never corrected her, never hesitated. He changed diapers, held her through night terrors, painted butterflies on her bedroom ceiling when she told him she dreamed of flying. He wasn't the warmest man, but he was constant, unshakable, the kind of presence that made a child feel like nothing could hurt her while he was near. They lived in a quiet cabin at the edge of a pine forest. No neighbors, no visits, just the two of them, and silence thick, enough to drown in. She never questioned it until she turned 16. That was when the dreams began, the same one, over and over. A woman running through trees, heavy breath, a torn dress, blood on her knees, and then a scream cut off like a thread snapped in midair. She would wake up shaking, and every time her father would already be in her room, sitting on the edge of the bed, calm, silent, watching her. She asked if she ever had a mother. He said, "No, you were left with me." She asked, "By who?" He answered, "Someone who didn't want you," and that was the end of the conversation. He never yelled, never raised a hand, but somehow his stillness was more frightening than anger could ever be. He kept no photographs, no baby pictures, no birth certificate. She'd always assumed it was because of the fire. That's what he told her. Their first house burned down when she was a baby. Everything was lost. But now, holding this letter in her hands, something didn't add up. The envelope was sealed, yellowed, fragile at the corners, but the paper inside was pristine. She unfolded it slowly, fingers trembling. And then she saw it, a name she didn't recognize, not hers, not his. "To Clara, I hope one day you find this. And when you do, I'm sorry." Her name was Lily. She was sure of it. She had to be. The rest of the letter was even stranger. Words, written in a trembling hand, phrases that made her skin prickle. "He promised he wouldn't hurt me. They said I'd never see you again. He's not who he says he is." She stopped reading. Her throat was dry, her vision blurred. Downstairs, the floor creaked. Her father was home. She hid the letter under her shirt, tucked it into her waistband, and for the first time in her life, she lied. She smiled, asked him how his day was, listened to him talk about the generator, the rain, the fox tracks by the shed. But she wasn't really there. She was back in the attic, hearing the voice from her dreams, the scream in the forest. That night, she didn't sleep. She waited until he went to bed, waited for the deep, slow rhythm of his breathing. Then she took the letter into the bathroom, locked the door, and read every word. It was from her mother, not a stranger, not someone who didn't want her. Her real mother, and, according to the letter, her father, the man who raised her, had taken her, not adopted, not rescued. Taken. The letter was dated 17 years ago. Written in the months before she was born, the writing became frantic at the end. Sentences stopped midline, ink smudged, a fingerprint in the corner, and one final line that made her blood turn cold. "If you're reading this, then he's still lying." She dropped the letter. It hit the tile floor like a body. She didn't want it to be true, couldn't believe it, but she needed to know. She went to the kitchen, opened the drawer with the old mail, bills, catalogs, receipts. She found a piece of mail with her father's name, then another with a different one, different handwriting, different last name. She opened the cabinet where he kept the lockbox, the one he always kept the key to on a chain around his neck. She picked the lock with a bobby pin, hand sweating, heart pounding. Inside, a birth certificate, her birth certificate, but it didn't say Lily. It said Clara Margaret Rhodes. Mother, Hannah Rhodes. Father, unknown. She staggered back, sat on the floor. She felt like the ground was tilting, like her. Life had cracked open at the middle. The man sleeping in the next room wasn't her father. Not really, he was something else. The question was, what? She sat on the cold kitchen floor for what felt like hours. The letter, the birth certificate. They stared back at her like ghosts. Everything she thought she knew had been built on a lie. She didn't know what time it was when she stood up. The sky outside was black. The only sound was the hum of the fridge. She had one goal now: find out who he really was. She waited until morning, pretended everything was normal, ate breakfast with shaking hands while he poured her orange juice. He didn't notice, or pretended not to, but something was off. The way his eyes lingered too long, the way he locked the front door when he left. She didn't go to school. Instead, she used the old landline. He never let her have a cell phone, said they were dangerous, said people could track her. Now she understood why. She called the public library in town, asked if they had archived newspapers. They did. It was the first time she'd gone into town alone in years. She wore a hoodie, sunglasses, as if she could hide from a man who knew her every move. At the library, she asked for papers from around the time she was born. The woman behind. The desk hesitated. "We don't usually get teens asking for those? School project?" She nodded. "Family history." 3 hours later, she found it. Missing. Hannah Rhodes, 27, and infant daughter Clara. Last seen near Pine Ridge. Vehicle found abandoned. No leads. There was a photo. The woman in the dream, running, blood on her knees. She wasn't imagining. It was a memory. Her mother had run, and whoever took that photo, whoever made her disappear, had taken her too. Her hands were cold, her breath shaky. But it wasn't over. She kept digging. Found an article from a year later. No charges filed. Local man cleared in disappearance of Hannah Rhodes. The name listed, William J. Hartley, her father's real name. She scanned the article. Words jumped off the page, questioned but released. No evidence of foul play, claims he never met the woman. She wanted to scream, she wanted to run. But instead she printed the article, folded it into her pocket. She left the library, eyes on every passing car, certain that he was watching. When she got home, she didn't go inside right away. She stood in the driveway, looked at the house, the woods behind it, the place she thought was safe. Then she walked to the shed. It was always locked, but today it wasn't. Inside, tools, boxes, old toys, and something else. A duffel bag, covered in dust. She opened it. Inside were women's clothes, not hers, not her size. A bracelet, a locket with a photo of her mother, and behind it, a gun. She dropped it, stumbled back. The shed door creaked. He was there. In the doorway, watching. Silent. His eyes went from the bag to her, then to the printed article in her hand. "You shouldn't have gone digging," he said. His voice was calm. But there was something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Not anger, fear. He stepped forward. She backed away, clutching the bracelet. "You lied," she said. He didn't answer. Just knelt beside the bag, took out the locket. "She left you," he said. "She didn't want you. You were crying on the floor. She was gone." She shook her head. "She didn't leave. You took her." His hands tightened around the locket. "You don't know what she was like." She turned and ran, out of the shed, across the yard, through the back door, straight to the kitchen drawer, the car keys. Gone. She heard the shed door slam. She grabbed the phone. The landline was dead. She ran to her room, locked the door, barricaded it with the dresser, and sat on the floor, breathing fast. The letter, the article, the locket. She spread them out in front of her, pieces of a puzzle. But something was missing, something she still didn't know. What happened to her mother, and why? If he really took her, had he raised her like his own? That night, she didn't. Sleep? Again she waited, listened, watched the hallway through the crack under the door. He didn't try to come in, didn't speak, just passed by once. Slow footsteps, then nothing. Morning came, and so did a new plan. She was going to find the truth. not just in letters and articles, but in people. Someone had to remember Hannah Rhodes. Someone had to know what happened. And maybe, just maybe, someone had seen what William Hartley did. She packed a bag, took the cash he hid in the garage, and when he left to get supplies, like he always did on Tuesdays, she was gone. No note, no goodbye, just the ghost of the girl he thought he'd erased, heading back to the town she never knew was hers, where the truth waited, buried, like her mother, maybe. The town looked smaller than she imagined, older. As if time had never moved past the day she disappeared, she walked its streets like a ghost, passing windows, shadows of lives she could have lived. Every corner felt unfamiliar. Yet something deep inside her stirred, a pull, a whisper. She was home, even if she'd never been. The bus station was 5 blocks from the diner, the one from the article. The place her mother had worked. She stood outside for a while, watching through the foggy glass. Waitresses' end. Blue aprons, an old man sipping coffee, a picture of stillness. She stepped in. A small bell rang above the door. Heads turned, she felt their eyes. A stranger. A child with nowhere to go. She walked to the counter, sat on the far stool. The waitress behind the counter noticed her. Mid-50s, sharp eyes. A name tag. Linda? You lost, sweetheart? She hesitated. I'm looking for someone. Hannah Rhodes. Linda blinked, then leaned in. Who's asking? She pulled out the locket, opened it, held it out. Linda's expression cracked. Eyes wide, lips parted. Where did you get that? She was my mother. Silence. The kitchen clanged behind them. A plate dropped. A voice cursed, but at the counter only stillness. Linda sat down slowly. Honey, you can't just say something like that. I have proof, letters, a birth certificate, a photo. Linda looked like she'd seen a ghost. Everyone thought she ran. She didn't. No, she wouldn't have. Linda wiped her hands, then poured coffee into 2 mugs. Come with me. They sat in a back booth, quieter, dimmer, away from the stairs. Linda talked fast. I knew Hannah. We all did. Sweet girl, smart. Worked here part-time while she finished school. Got pregnant with a man she never named. Some thought it was someone married. Others said she was running from something. She disappeared when I was a baby. Linda nodded. Police searched. Didn't find a thing. Her car was on a forest road, door open, baby seat empty, just gone. There was a man, William Hartley. They questioned him. Linda's eyes darkened. That man. He came into the diner once, just once. Gave me chills, asked about Hannah, said he was with the Forestry Service, said he needed to verify some employment details, but he wasn't wearing a badge. Did you tell the police? I did, so did others, but he was clean, no record, nothing to hold him on. Her hand trembled slightly as she sipped the coffee. He looked at her photo too long. Like he already knew her. A chill slid down her spine. Do you know anyone else who might remember him? Linda hesitated, then nodded. One man. Tommy Brinks. He was a park ranger. Worked the ridge where her car was found. Got fired after the investigation. Drank too much. But he said things no one believed. Where is he now? Lives in a trailer north of town, near the old quarry. You sure you want to go alone? She nodded, but her voice caught. I have to. Linda scribbled the directions on a napkin. Be careful. That place is quiet. Too quiet. She left the diner with the locket warm in her hand. Her mother's face pressed against her palm, the only memory she had. The road north was cracked and silent. Birds circled above. Clouds thickened. She found the trailer, rust-covered, half buried in weeds. Smoke curled from a crooked chimney. She knocked. Nothing. Then a cough, shuffling. A man answered, eyes red, beard heavy, whiskey in one hand. What do you want? Are you Tommy Brinks? He narrowed his eyes. Who's asking? She showed the locket. His breath hitched. Like he'd seen a ghost, too. You look like her. Hannah Rhodes was my mother. William Hartley took me. He stared at her, frozen, then opened the door. Inside, the trailer smelled like smoke and regret. But there were stacks of papers, maps, old newspaper clippings. They said I was crazy. He dropped into a chair. But I knew something was wrong. That car wasn't abandoned. There were tracks, a second set of prints, men's boots, drag marks, and the baby seat, it was ripped out. Why didn't they believe you? He laughed. Bitter. Because William Hartley was a ghost. No background, no social, no ID. A man who didn't exist. Then who is he? Tommy looked her dead in the eye. I don't know, but I'll tell you this. He'd been watching her for months. Before she vanished, she felt the weight in her stomach, like the ground shifting beneath her feet. He planned it. Tommy nodded, and no one stopped him. They sat in silence. Then Tommy stood, went to a drawer, pulled out a folder. I kept everything. Photos, maps, letters. One letter. Unopened. Addressed to Hannah Rhodes. Return address, W.H. She opened. Inside was a single line. You can't run forever. Her hand shook. She dropped it, and knew it wasn't over. He knew she was looking. He always knew, because he was watching. Still, somewhere. She left the trailer clutching the letter. The paper was thin, almost translucent, but it felt heavy in her hand. A weight her chest couldn't bear. You can't run forever. It wasn't meant for her. It was meant for her mother. But somehow, it had found its way into her hands. 15 years too late. She walked fast, eyes darting to the tree line. The wind picked up, branches creaked, and somewhere in the distance, a twig snapped. She froze, but there was nothing. Just her breath, short and uneven. Just her heart pounding in her ears. She made it back to town by dusk. The sky burned orange, then deepened into purple. Shadows stretched across the pavement. She didn't go to the motel, didn't feel safe there anymore. Not after what Tommy said. Not after that letter. Instead, she went to the library. A quiet place. A place for answers. She combed through old records. Digitized newspapers. Obituaries. Missing persons reports. Then she saw it. An article from 17 years ago. Title: A Mysterious Death in Redwood County Cabin. A woman, mid-30s, found alone. Cause of death: blunt force trauma. No suspects, no witnesses, but there was a photo. Black and white. Grainy, yet unmistakable. The cabin, the same one from her. Childhood. The same floorboards where she took her first steps. The same woodshed she was never allowed to enter. The woman's name wasn't Hannah, but something told her. It was meant to be. She printed the article, folded it carefully, added it to the file. Then she left the library and found herself standing outside the sheriff's office. The badge on the door caught the street light. Flickered like a warning. She walked in. The man behind the desk looked up, young, clean-cut. Too new to know the story. I need to speak to someone about a kidnapping that happened 15 years ago. His brow furrowed. He sat up straighter. Are you a victim? I think I am. She told him everything, from the letters, to the locket, to the man who raised her, to Tommy's confession, to the article. When she was done, the room felt different. Thicker, like the air knew it was holding something dangerous. The officer leaned back. This is a lot. Do you have proof? She slid the folder across the desk. He opened it, studied each piece, said nothing for a long time. Then finally, do you still have contact with the man who raised you? No. I ran away when I was 17. I never looked back. Did he ever say where he came from? Family, friends? She shook her head. He told me I was his miracle, that he found me when he had nothing left. He said God gave me to him. The officer didn't respond, just typed, fast. After a few minutes, he looked up. There's no William Hartley in the National Registry with his age and birth year. Not one. I checked aliases. Nothing. It's like he appeared out of nowhere. Exactly what Tommy had said. She leaned in. Can you run his photo? I have one. She reached into her bag, pulled out the only picture she had. A birthday. He was holding her, smiling. But behind his eyes, something always felt off. The officer scanned it, ran it through the database. Minutes passed. Silence, tension, a clock ticking like a heartbeat. Then, a hit. We got something. She stood. Who is he? The officer read aloud. Name, Daniel Royce. Wanted in connection to a missing persons case in Maindobur 2004. Suspected of abducting a woman and child. Never charged. Went off grid. Her throat tightened. Daniel. Not William. He had lied about everything, every name, every place, every memory. And she'd trusted him. Loved him. Called him Dad. The officer leaned in. You said he used to disappear for days when you were little? She nodded. He said he worked with the Forest Service, maintenance. He'd leave before dawn, come home after dark. Sometimes he didn't come back for a week. And when he did, he brought back gifts, stuffed animals, books, sometimes food I didn't recognize. Once he brought back a bracelet and told me it was mine when I was a baby. The officer looked at her. Long and hard. What if it wasn't yours? The thought chilled her. What if he took it from someone else? A trophy? Her stomach twisted. We need to reopen the missing persons case. We need to bring this to the state. She nodded. Then something else dawned on her. He had a locked box, kept it under the floorboards, said it was private. The officer stood. Can you take us there? Her breath caught. Yes, but I don't know what we'll find. He grabbed a jacket. Radioed for backup. We'll find out together. As they left the station, she looked back once. At the town, at the diner, at the silent streets, a chapter was closing. But another one darker, deeper, older, was about to open. She had no idea what was waiting inside that cabin, but part of her knew. The truth had always been there, hidden beneath the floor, waiting to be found, and this time she wasn't running, she was going back. The cabin stood in silence. Nothing had changed. Same chipped paint, same tilted porch light, same wind howling through the trees like it never stopped mourning. She stepped out of the sheriff's truck and stared at the place that haunted her dreams. Another officer followed behind. Body cam on, hand near his belt. Show us the box, the sheriff said. She nodded, led them to the back room. The floorboards creaked like they remembered her. She knelt near the corner, hands shaking, pulled back the rug, pried the wood loose. There it was, a rusted lockbox. She hadn't seen it in years, but it still made her stomach twist. The sheriff opened it with a crowbar. Inside were photographs, hundreds of them, Polaroids, black and white. Some color, children, women, none of them her. Some smiled. Others looked confused, afraid. One had a tear halfway down her cheek. Frozen in time. Then there were the clippings, missing posters, news articles, even sketches, names circled in red, dates scribbled in shaky handwriting. What is this? She whispered. The officer flipped through the stack. These are trophies. Then they found the IDs, stacked, laminated, neat, dozens of them. Different aliases, different lives. But the same face. Daniel Royce, William Hartley, Paul Kent, Mason, Ford, and then a baby photo. Her. But the background, it wasn't the cabin, it was a hospital, clean fluorescent lights. A nurse smiling down. There was writing on the back. Baby girl, born 12/17. Transferred to foster care. No name, no parent listed. She staggered back. He didn't adopt me. He took me from the system. The officer's jaw tightened. We need to run this through national child records. There's a chance you were reported, but with no trace, the file could have gone cold. But she was already spinning. The room felt smaller, like the walls were pressing in. All these years, she thought he saved her, raised her, protected her, but maybe he was hiding her. From who? From what? And why? Back outside, the sun was setting behind the trees. A soft amber glow cast long shadows across the clearing. She stood by the truck, holding the photo, staring at the face of a baby she barely recognized. Her own. Then she remembered the letter. The one she'd found behind the mirror. She pulled it out again. Read it slowly. This time, something new stood out. Near the end, barely legible. He said no one would ever find us, that you were mine now. But I know one day she'll look for the truth. And when she does, God help her. Signed, her breath caught. The woman in the article. The one found dead in the cabin. That was Oich. That was her mother, not by blood, but by protection, a woman who tried to save her, and paid for it. Tears burned her eyes. But she didn't let them fall. Not yet. They processed the cabin for hours, took evidence, photographed everything. When the officers were done, the sheriff walked up. "We're going to bring this to federal investigators. There's likely more." "More victims? More states?" She nodded. "What about me?" He paused. "We'll find your records, your birth name, your real history." That night she stayed in a different motel, slept with the lights on, the door locked, the photo in her hand, and dreamed of places she didn't remember. Smells of hospitals, cries in the night. A woman humming a lullaby. The next morning she got a call. They'd found her birth certificate. Her name wasn't what she thought. She had a mother, a grandmother, and a file that had been buried in a basement of a closed foster agency. She was never legally adopted, just vanished. Erased, taken, and now she was found. But the man who raised her? He was gone. Disappeared years ago. No address, no death certificate, nothing. The sheriff said he might still be out there. A new name, a new story, a new girl. But she didn't believe it, because deep down she remembered the last time she saw him. 17 years old, backpack slung over her shoulder, running barefoot down the dirt road. He stood in the doorway, didn't follow, didn't yell, just watched, and maybe he knew that was the end, that she'd find her way back to the truth. And she did. It just took 15 years. A letter and a locked box beneath the floor. And now she would never stop looking. Not for herself, not for the others, because someone out there might still call him Dad. And they deserved to know he never was.